Yo, what's up, everybody? I'm Miss Christopher Corinthian. Today we are going to react to another video. It's called "Why Isn't the Trump Family Asking Questions About Charlie Kirk?" Candace episode 254, guys. Just imagine how far has she gone on this road to finding the truth on the assassination of Charlie Kirk. So by Candace Owens, let's get right into it. Let's go, guys.
All right, you guys, where to begin? Well, the Turning Point USA Wikipedia entry got a very interesting update the night after Charlie Kirk was murdered. A certain someone was mysteriously added to the entry for the first time ever, listed as a co-founder of one of their divisions. That's interesting. I wonder who. Also, I was a bit taken aback. I was obviously away in Wyoming when President Trump honored Charlie Kirk with his very own holiday as a posthumous birthday present. But I was a little taken aback that people really believe that that would somehow put an end to the conspiracies. It's supposed to be over now because look, Charlie Kirk Day. Okay, we'll see about that. And sticking with the Trump family, Don Trump Jr. has come out to share his feelings regarding the FBI investigation. And man, oh man, you guys, I just am wondering how deep this thing really goes because there is not a single member of the Trump family that could have upset me more with his commentary than Don Trump Jr. Welcome back to Candace. Let's start with one of my own back of head conspiracies. It's kind of been a long running thought of mine actually over the years. And it relates here to something interesting that I thought of after the show yesterday that I wanted to share with you guys regarding Charlie as a child. Charlie was obviously an extremely gifted child, so much so that he was hyperactive. He was actually always hyperactive. That never went away. He couldn't sit down. He was never idle. He was always working. But he was so gifted that, of course, doctors immediately wanted to put him on ADHD medicine because, well, why is he so hyperactive? Something's wrong with him. Let's drug him. And thankfully, Charlie's parents said, absolutely not. You're not drugging our son. He is actually, in fact, gifted. And they instead opted to send him to a school for the gifted. That's my memory. Charlie told me that story multiple times. And I think gifted. That's my opted to send him to a school for the gifted. That said, opted to send. He is actually, in fact, gifted. And they instead opted to send him to a school for the gifted. That's my memory. Charlie told me that story multiple times. And I thought about that. This has just been in my mind lately, living in my mind, because I truly believe that he was probably assigned like life handlers from that moment on. Something probably takes place. If you go to a little X-Men school and they're seeing how smart you are, or you're a part of some program. I was in Extraordinary Learners as a kid, but I think Charlie was in like a special X-Men school. They probably are monitoring those kids. I actually believe that the reason that we have standardized tests is so that the government can track who is performing above the standard, right? Who's performing above the average slave? We better keep an eye on that one. Just my suspicion, my own personal conspiracy theory. I think when my kids are old enough to do standardized tests, because even when you homeschool, you have to do standardized tests. I'm going to be like, just get like a 70%. We don't want any government tracker sent on us. Anyways, I want to jump back into the Turning Point USA story and tell you guys something that's been bothering me about Rob McCoy. Stick on him. Other than the fact that he lies and he proclaims to be a pastor, is the fact that less than 36 hours after Charlie died, less than 36 hours, exact time at 10:34 p.m. Eastern on September 11th, the Turning Point USA Wikipedia received a rather interesting update. Pastor Rob McCoy, who had previously never been featured on their Wikipedia page, somehow got his own heading. Just amazing. Let's check out that fresh entry now. It reads, Rob McCoy and Charlie Kirk founded Turning Point USA Faith, TPUS Faith, together. Along with being a Pentecostal pastor in the Calvary Chapel Association, McCoy is the co-chairman of TPUS faith, aligned with the Christian right. McCoy inspired Kirk to amalgamate Christianity and social conservatism. During the COVID-19 pandemic, McCoy was known for speaking out against prohibitions on the holding of in-person church services. Now,
excuse me, if you write in your second language, what's your go-to to making sure?
Oh, Ventrilo, no question.
So
the hardest on the holding of in-person church services. Now, the hardest part of being me is that I came up through Turning Point USA, so I just know these lies so quickly, okay? No, Rob McCoy was not the person who inspired Turning Point USA faith. Actually, if anybody could be credited with that, that was like way back in the day at Liberty University, actually. Those pastors, those conversations, I was there for that. Oh, we should do like a faith division, whatever it is. He didn't inspire it. And what's so interesting about that entry is that when you then click it, this is how you know this is absurd. When you click the actual notations that are there, when it says he's the co-founder, what are you talking about? Since when is he the co-founder? And it also says that he was the chairman. When you click it, that article, which they pretend is a note, hit the 54, Skylar, not 55, okay? That's from November 24th, 2024. That's the justification for saying he was a founder. Nowhere in that article does it say that he's a founder or the chairman. Nowhere. They just put a fake article, a real article that never said this. And they're like, oh, now it's sourced. It's here forever because nobody ever does their homework. And we're Wikipedia. So you can't question this, obviously. And then you can see the second citations that are used. The dates of them, September 10th, September 2025. So it's brand spanking new, you guys. Still has tags on it. Less than 36 hours later. Now, you might be thinking, trying to justify that, as I was. You might be rationally wondering, well, look, there was a lot of interest in Turning Point USA following this assassination. Maybe there wasn't any mention of Turning Point faith at all. And maybe what they did was afterwards, Wikipedia editors went in there and wanted to just break apart every part and speak about Turning Point USA and dedicate more thorough research to the various projects that Turning Point USA and Charlie Kirk were working on. So they included a new tab about Turning Point faith. If you're wondering that, that's fair, but the answer to that musing is no. Actually, there already was a long-standing section on the Wikipedia website regarding Turning Point faith on Wikipedia. In fact, that section is still available if you just scroll down. And it kind of conflicts with the new section that was added 36 hours later. It makes it clear that Charlie Kirk founded TPUSA Faith alone. Here it is in 2021. Charlie Kirk founded TPUSA Faith, an organization that says it is dedicated to recruit pastors and other church leaders to be active in local and national political issues. The organization promotes a culture war agenda and is intended to attract supporters among religious conservatives. Its activities include faith-based voter drives and educating members on TPUSA core values. Now, you can keep reading here. There's no mention of McCoy. So what this means practically is that when Charlie Kirk was alive, that is what the Wikipedia read. And then he died, and suddenly somebody in the world said, well, what about Rob McCoy? Let's add Rob McCoy, who is not known worldwide. Okay, this is even before the memorial event. So you could maybe go, oh, well, maybe once he hit the stage and said, I'm Charlie's pastor, somebody went in there and added it. I don't know, guys. My question is, who made that update? Who was rather instructed to make that update? Because I can tell you how it works for big companies. I was actually desperately looking for a text from Charlie because I know he told me that they, Turning Point USA's organization, had found a guy that could help clean up the Wikipedia pages, right? There are people that do this full time and they're paid by bigger organizations to clean up their Wikipedia pages because I remember, and I still have the messages, when we organization had found a guy that they, Turning Point USA's organization, he told me, desperately looking for a text from Charlie because I know he told me that they, Turning Point USA's organization, had found a guy that could help clean up the Wikipedia pages, right? There are people that do this full time and they're paid by bigger organizations to clean up their Wikipedia pages because I remember, and I still have the messages, when we first had our pages, which were made by Wikipedia editors, and they were horrific. They said terrible things about us. It was like, Candace is a racist, white nationalist, a crazy person who hates BLM and she hates women, you know, the whole gamut that you're getting right now about me. And we were horrified when we looked through our Wikipedia pages. And then some time passed and someone within the organization had found a person who could clean up our Wikipedia pages. Charlie told me, and I cannot remember who that individual was. It'll come to me. It will actually come to me. But I'm just interested. Do you guys think that some random person got inspired to include a whole heading of Rob McCoy 36 hours later? What do you guys think? I don't even think they had even yet announced that Erica Kirk was the chairman and the CEO 36 hours later. Like, that seems that early. Less than 36 hours, I should say, to be very clear. Less than 36 hours later. I don't even think Charlie's body had returned back to Arizona. Clear, less than 36 hours later. I don't even think Charlie's body had returned back to Arizona 36 hours later. Like, that seems that early. Less than 36 hours, I should say, to be very clear. Less than 36 hours later. I don't even think Charlie's body had returned back to Arizona. And yet somebody was dedicated to Rob McCoy lying and claiming, this person who typed this, that he was the founder, the co-founder, Charlie's pastor. No, he wasn't. The founder of TPUS Faith, the inspiration behind TPUS Faith. No, he wasn't. He was one of the advisors put on the board of advisory for TPUSA Faith. I know that he gets paid by TPUS Faith, upcoming pastor summits where they're going to teach other Christian Zionist pastors how to use the Bible as a shield for their political ideas. You know, it says right here in the Bible, unfollow Tucker Carlson. There's no other way that we could understand Paul's letter to the Corinthians other than to unfollow Tucker Carlson. That's the vibe I'm getting, the direction that Turning Point was going into, and Rob McCoy was definitively going to benefit financially from that. But founder? Since when? Anyways, now let's turn our attention to other allies. President Donald Trump. Of course, we have to arrive here because Charlie really loved Donald J. Trump, okay? He loved him. It is unreal going through my messages to really consider how much he dedicated his entire life to him. And I mean sleepless nights wanting to ensure that he got elected, reelected, midterm elections, hitting the ground, wearing a MAGA hat. We were everywhere. I was on fire for Trump too. I really believed in Trump. I really believed that if people could wake up to how quickly the media turned on him, that it could be, you know, this conduit to Black Americans understanding that we're being manipulated. Because my focus was all about Black America, right? And what I can say is that from the very moment that we learned the news that Charlie Kirk had passed, I knew spiritually that we were never going to get the full story from officials, right? Not from officials. I can't explain it. I felt that way. And then when Trump rushed to tweet out that, or social Truth Social out that photo, an AI photo of him and Charlie with the Star of David in the background, I just knew.
谁会符合我们的条件？犯令旗的献祭。
I just knew. I knew him and Charlie with the Star of David in the background. I just knew.
Oh.
I just knew. I knew the investigation into who murdered Charlie Kirk was officially over, right? The officials wanted nothing for Charlie Kirk was officially investigation into who murdered Charlie Kirk was officially over, right? The officials wanted nothing to do with it because there was nobody more psychotically insistent that people stop asking questions about Charlie's death immediately. I mean, early hours, right? Than the people that are dedicated to the Israel lobby, right? These individuals stop asking questions about Charlie's death immediately. I mean, early hours, right? more than the people that are dedicated to the Israel lobby, right? These individuals, if you go back, people that are pro-Israel for whatever reason, were like, do not look any further into this death. In fact, I'll challenge you, do me a favor. Find me just one real life pro-Israel individual who is expressing that they don't believe that Charlie Kirk was killed by Tyler Robinson. The evidence is overwhelming. Don't believe that Charlie Kirk was killed by Tyler Robinson. The evidence is overwhelming that Tyler Robinson didn't act alone, that Tyler Robinson didn't fire the shot, that Tyler Robinson didn't use a 30-06. Find me just one person with a platform who's pro-Israel and says, I want this investigation into his death to continue. It's a bit weird, right? It's a bit weird. Dogs, very silent right now. Very, very silent. And there's like a stake on the ground. They're not moving. It's very weird. They do, all of them, however, I will say, want him to be honored, right? Mostly by your money. They want you to give to Turning Point USA. That's the best way, by the way, that you can honor him. Open up your pocketbooks. They don't have enough money there, right? Clearing like $100 million a year. They don't have enough. Open up your pockets, keep his show going, and don't ask questions is obviously the clearest way that we can honor Charlie Kirk. They want him lionized, and they did try to lionize him immediately as the most Judeo-Christian goy ever, right? He was basically, why not just put him in a yarmulke in some of these AI photos? That would make more sense. The direction, I mean, it's so instant. It's like just like trying to establish the legacy, right? And keeping with that, we want this to be honorific, not actually trying to solve what happened here. For Charlie's birthday, President Trump signed into law or established rather a holiday. And he decided that October 14th, which is Charlie Kirk's birthday, would be a national day of remembrance for Charlie Kirk. Okay? And I'm going to tell you how I feel about that. Truly Zionists that infiltrated my book club, you did not need to pay the $9.99 to find out how I feel about this. I don't know why people think I'm hiding how I feel. It's very weird. Like, when did people go, oh, we have to try to listen in to hear what she really thinks? I'll tell you what I really think. I think it's crap. Okay? What I said in my book club holds. It's never good when the feds are lining up to give you a holiday. Not good. You know, Martin Luther King vibes. Martin Luther King Jr. I think maybe the feds definitely killed Martin Luther King Jr. But in school, we get to learn about him. He's got this whole holiday. Oh, he was such a great, I loved that I Have a Dream speech. Oh, the feds. Oh, man, you're good. You were so great. It's unfortunate that we had to murder you. I don't like it because the best way to honor Charlie Kirk is very obvious. Figure out who killed him first. Let's celebrate the holiday later. I want to figure out who killed him first. And so I'm struck by this. I'm struck by Trump and the lack of demand, the lack of pushing on the narrative. Trump has really represented himself, at least as me, someone who voted for him twice. He represented himself as an individual who didn't trust the federal establishment. This feels like an easy layup here. You're a friend. He viewed you in many ways like a father figure, right? Hey, feds, what's going on here? And I said, maybe he did, because I was in this aggrieved stage and I really didn't poke my head up until weeks later when I could stop crying about it every second. And I said, maybe I missed it. Maybe Trump did actually say this is crap. Maybe he did call for an investigation. And we did a search on Truth Social to see how many times President Trump tweeted or Truth Socialed calling for further investigation into Charlie Kirk's murder. And there was only one tweet that we could find to that effect. And this tweet is not what I would describe as him calling for an investigation into Charlie Kirk's murder, actually. Here it is. This is the only one we could find. Why was the wonderful Turning Point under investigation by deranged Jack Smith and the corrupt and incompetent Biden administration? They tried to force Charlie and many other people and movements out of business. They weaponized the Justice Department against sleepy Joe Biden's political opponents, including me. They allowed the daughter of a judge of one of the corrupt trials against me to become the biggest fundraiser for Biden and Kamala, making millions of dollars for herself and her family. But with her father, the judge, not only refusing to recuse himself, but putting a gag order on me, not allowing any talk about their family corruption and unprecedented conflict of interest. Well, that's not going to age well, the gag order thing, is it? Every leading legal analyst and pundit said this trial was wrong and should not have been allowed to go forward, but it did because of a corrupt judge who will hopefully pay a very big price for his illegal action someday.
Listen up, because I'm about to give you the secret. Every time I tell people to comment.
Okay. Scale of 1 to 10, how much is that do you feel about Charlie Kirk? Like, I don't know. I don't know what to think of that. I don't know what to make of that. Like I said, it's pretty obvious. They want us to just look at everything and go, case closed. Don't you see? We're all united. We're standing up here. We're giving him a holiday. We're signing that. And we've got all these photographers here. Turning Point's chief fundraiser lady here, and she's crying. So obviously she loved Charlie. Kash Patel was there. Of all the people, unbelievable to me. They're here. Kash Patel's here, so you can see we're all united. You can totally trust the FBI science now. We're ruling out corruption. That's why we don't know what Jeffrey Epstein files are talking about. Because look, all we had to do was win against Democrats and corruption would be over. Are we still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? I'm sorry. You know, I've realized something actually and truly. They made, in retrospect, the absolute best decision not inviting me to speak at Charlie's memorial. Like, kudos to whoever made that call, because I would have just been on my best Kanye. I would have jumped on stage and just grabbed the mic from Susie Wiles or someone and said, are you kidding me? What is going on here? What is happening? Even Trump's speech, remember when he just kind of worked in the story about Charlie interviewing a fourth grader, and he was referring to Breland Holland. And I'm saying Holland, by the way, because that was his name when Charlie interviewed him, because Trump wasn't there, had nothing to do with Trump. When Charlie went on that fourth grader's podcast, his name was Breland Holland, and I was next to him. It was me and Charlie. What a weird story for Trump to just obscurely pluck out of thin air to say on stage at his memorial. He wasn't there. He had nothing to do with him. The kid had some connections and, of course, was really sweet and adorable and in fourth grade and super polite and energetic and was like, I'd love to interview you. I can't remember who the guy was who was his dad. I got him the interview with us. And all of a sudden, Trump's just saying this story on stage at Charlie's memorial as if he was there. And he wasn't. So what's going on? Regarding Kash Patel showing his face there, I legitimately do not know how these people do it, okay? I would literally die from shame. I would pass away, right, immediately from shame before I would show up to that event if I was Kash Patel. Like, did they breed it out? Is this a new breed of human that I don't know about? Where you feel nothing, there's just nothing. It's like the Josh Hammer thing. They don't feel any sense of shame at all. And they can just go, 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 go. And pretend that you're honoring. I don't understand it. I truly don't understand it, because I have to be a different species from whatever that is. I would melt. I'd rather melt into the floor than show my face, knowing how badly I was dropping the ball. The whole world was dropping the ball. How do you show up to work, Kash Patel? And the answer is he shows up to work, and he did show up to work, Kash Patel. Dropping the ball. The whole world was dropping the ball. How do you show up to work, Kash Patel? And the answer is he shows up to work and he demands that everybody stop looking into it because he's got it under control. He's got a very small team of people at the FBI that are allowed to touch anything pertaining to the Charlie Kirk case because, this is transparency. Finally, the adults are in charge, and it's going to be the most transparent administration ever, except on the Jeffrey Epstein stuff or the Charlie Kirk stuff, who was a friend of the administration. We got to be a little bit opaque on. Real headline, New York Times yesterday, pertaining to how upset Kash Patel was when he received an inquiry from Joe Kent, Tulsi Gabbard's office. They lead the National Counterterrorism Center, Joe Kent does, and him inquiring about details into this apparently alarmed Kash Patel. It says Kash Patel was alarmed. He called a meeting, in fact, right? He wanted to investigate the assassination pertaining to Joe Kent. They were like, hey, maybe people overseas were involved in his murder. Maybe they were thinking, BB's saying too much. Can we just look at these files? Because it's our job, overseas terrorism. And Kash Patel was so alarmed by this, so alarmed that they would look into these files, that he held a meeting, apparently. Oh, what are you? This is not appropriate. It's not appropriate for you to be looking into this, okay? We don't want you knowing whether or not there was a foreign power or another entity that was involved in this. And this is the reason that Kash Patel decided to have a meeting with Susie Wiles and Joe Kent and Tulsi Gabbard and Trump officials. I think it said J.D. Vance was in this meeting as well, and nothing was accomplished. Because why wouldn't you, if you're the most transparent administration ever, share, get the help? Hey, we're supposed to be partners in this. Don't we all want to find out who killed Charlie Kirk? And the answer is no. We don't all want to find out who killed Charlie Kirk. I think that's apparent, right? It's pretty obvious that we do not all want to find out who murdered Charlie Kirk because they're not acting right. Nobody is acting right now. And it's stunning. We are making so many discoveries in this case, and I have to tell you guys, we're getting close. We're getting low. Very close, I think, to what actually happened on that day. And I'm getting the suspicion that there were some foreign entities involved. So Joe, Kent, Tulsi Gabbard, if you guys by any chance see this episode, keep going, right? We're just going very slowly here. Set the bait. We're going to see who lies about what. And when we get back from this break, I'm going to tell you another stunning turning point lie that came out. And you're going to start feeling some type of way about the people who are all apparently mourning him. And the best way to mourn, of course, is to lie. We'll be right back after a quick break.
Work today is
Been talking a lot about Riverbend Ranch, the ranches. A few dollars out of they've now allows you to mortgage today. Owens do tons of things for you. Search, scroll the best. City's new web AI/Candace. Again, that's pplx.ai/Candace. All right, so Mikey McCoy is missing from the Charlie Kirk show. He seemed very happy to jump in that seat thereafter. I think we were all expecting after this video went viral that we would hear from him regarding his actions there as soon as Charlie got shot. We were told by Andrew Colvett, who is now missing from today's episode of the Charlie Kirk show, that it was because Charlie was very explicit. Charlie's very explicit. Charlie said, if I ever get shot at an event, the left side of my neck, the first thing I want you to do is not help me, okay? And how could we not do anything but trust the science here? We just got to trust science. We'll never know, okay? Because I guess they're not going to show us call logs, not going to do anything to just easily put away any of these quote unquote conspiracies that are unhealthy. I wanted to show you this comment. It was actually under his show yesterday. Well, actually, it might have been the day before that, regarding Charlie's unique instructions to his friends, right? This is a comment. Charlie's instructions are actually insane. Number one, leave me with no help or first aid. That is true. He was not administered any first aid. I have the close-up videos of that. Very strange to me because that's what they're supposed to be experts in. No gauze taken out, nothing, not even securing the wound as they carried him to the hospital. And I do not accept, by the way, that it was because things were crazy. He literally pays you millions of dollars of years to know what to do, security team, when things are crazy. Are you still employed? Did you fail at your one job? I don't know. We're going to find out. Anyways, his second instruction, this lady writes, film your reaction in selfie mode. Charlie must have wanted it. It's what he would have wanted, I think. He would have wanted it. I don't know. 3, take all the SD cards just in case. Secure the footage and never reveal it to anyone but the feds, who have always been so trustworthy. And 4, quickly cover the scene in case anybody wants to get justice for me. Yeah, that really is. Those are some instructions. Did Charlie Kirk have any real friends? What do you guys think? Because the more that time goes by, the more upset I am at everyone who's lying about every little thing. And I wouldn't mean literally little things, right? Not even the big things, but the little things. That's why the Catholic point made me so upset when I very gently said, oh, we thought he was close to converting, he was going to the mass, and then suddenly Operation Mocking Pastor or Mocking Evangelical Influencer went out, and they all were like, that's not true, that's not true. And I'm like, what do you mean it's not true? Don't be absurd. Don't be absurd. Why lie? I reflect on that moment. And I think it was right after the memorial service, a couple of days after the memorial service, where Alex Clark released that interview with her and Andrew Colvett, and they struggle sessioned through that. They were like, no, they were both committed evangelicals, and him and Erica, and he liked the smells and the bells. He loved the architecture, but there was no more substance for him. I really struggled with that, and I struggle with it even more now that I know that Charlie Kirk, there's been a lot of questions about what about his burial? How come we haven't seen anything about his burial? We saw so much and then we saw nothing. And the reason that's like a big hush-hush secret is because Charlie had a Catholic funeral mass and he is buried in a Catholic cemetery. Yeah, but really, it was about the architecture. I want you to understand. Why the little lies? I think we can only speculate that it's because they're worried about the money, right? They do not want to upset the very same people who were pressuring Charlie Kirk. And I love when they say, oh, another thing Andrew said in that interview, they're only a small portion of our donors relative to the rest of our donors. Okay, but are they cutting the bigger checks? Like Bob Showman took $2 million away. That's got to mean something. If you brought in $70 million last year and he took away $2 million just like that, are they cutting the bigger checks? Because then it's relevant. And I think the answer to that is yes. I think they insisted and are pressuring them, as we are hearing, to maintain the idea that Charlie died pro-Israel. But to do that, to have the stomach to do that, to know that you knew where he was buried and attended that mass, and you had the stomach to sit down and to gaslight me. That's what you did. You were gaslighting me, actually. It was me, right? Didn't say my name, but you were referring to me, right? Oh, no, he was just the most committed evangelical. What's wrong with everybody? Why does nobody have just the spirit moving within them? Just like, I don't know. I would just be sickened with myself. I can't lie like that. I can't lie anywhere close to that. I can't even fib. And you're able to just sit up there like a soldier and just delude everybody, delude the masses, and sometimes do it through tears to be extra convincing. That's crazy to me. It's wild to me. Speaking on the note of who his friends are, I will tell you there was no one, like I said at the top of the show, that could have upset me more than Don Jr. Okay, Don Jr. was one of Charlie's friends, like brother, literally a brother. Don Jr., by the way, I would say, was one of the people who very much helped to build Turning Point USA. He was there, okay? He did a ton of college campus events with me and Charlie, and we were always so grateful. I remember when Don Jr. started following me, I have the text messages with Charlie. I was like, oh my, Don Jr. is following me. This is amazing. He would retweet me. The beginning of the Candace story includes Don Trump Jr. being probably, without question actually, the most committed Trump family member to Turning Point USA's early story, okay? And like I said, I know how Charlie felt about Don Trump Jr. So when Megyn Kelly asked him what he thought about the investigation into Charlie's assassination, I was expecting him to say, I think it's crap. But that is not what he said. In fact, he did his best not to answer the question, as you'll see, and then Megyn Kelly holds him to it, and then you'll hear what he says. Take a listen.
How do you feel about the investigation into Charlie's death? Can we have faith in it? Do you feel like it's being well handled?
So far, listen, so far so good. I think, I've had this conversation with a lot of the guys that have been, very involved from the beginning, and, others that are a big part of that movement that are, are going to take, more of a role. Guys like JD, like, hey, he believes we have to keep this going. People, myself, hey, I did a lot of them, but I got to do even more. We got to keep this going. There's never going to be a replacement for Charlie Kirk. You can't plug that in. But if we can find 10 people that can do 10% of what he did, and they go all in and do that, we can keep that alive. And honestly, we all owe that to him.
Just to round back, do you have confidence in the investigation? Should we have confidence in this FBI investigating?
I do. And I mean, I don't know. I don't like it when the people have the private, but I've spoken to everyone, around, and Erica, and I do have confidence. And when I start seeing some of the other stuff, it's like, man. And by the way, just so we're clear, as you all probably know, if you're here, you probably follow me a little bit. Like, I'm about as conspiratorial as it gets within the realm of sanity for good cause, right? I think I was the guy that first said, like, the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth is usually about 6 months. I was the guy canceled for pushing all of the obvious things that were conspiracy theories that, Wuhan or whatever it may be, pushing all of the obvious things that were I was the guy canceled for pushing all of the obvious things that were conspiracy theories that, Wuhan or whatever it may be, lab virus leak. The problem is that there is a cottage industry of just clicks and people that are more than happy to profiteer, off of that. Again, I'm not saying that a lot of this stuff isn't real and isn't true, and I've been pushing all of that, but some of the stuff does get a little bit off the rails, and I think, you're really, it's been used even by the other side as a way to distract from the bigger picture of what happened to him, of what the other side has proven that they are actually willing to do.
Did you know that if you are non-resident...
Guys, what do you think, guys? Let me give my opinions about Don Jr. He was very nervous. You can see, that's how it feels. He's not confident, bro. What's happened? What has happened? I'm so surprised when I see this kind of reaction from Don Jr. What, man? Don't tell me he's involved, bro. Probably, most probably.
That they are actually willing to do.
Man, oh man. So much I want to say to that clip. Okay, the first thing that I want to say is that Don Trump Jr. is not a bad guy. Not a bad guy. Don Trump Jr. is probably maybe akin in some ways to Mikey McCoy. I look at Mikey McCoy. I don't know Mikey McCoy at all. And I don't think he's an evil person. I think he is in the shadow of his father, right? I think he's in the shadow of his father. I think Don Jr. has been probably in the shadow of his father his entire life, because what he's saying when he begins to credentialize himself and said, oh, I was up at the Wuhan, I said this about COVID, blah, blah, that's all true. That's the real Don Trump Jr. He was actually one of the people that was the most vocal about the Jeffrey Epstein files until Dad said, are we still talking about Jeffrey Epstein, right? And that's what I mean when I say someone who is in the shadow of his father. And it's a tough situation to be in. So I do want to be charitable in terms of thinking of that particular dynamic when Dad is saying this needs to be done and you have to carry on knowing that you had a real relationship with Charlie, because you did have a real relationship with Charlie. But Don, from me to you, it's better to say nothing. Okay? It's better to say, I'm just not going to answer that question. The best way you could honor Charlie Kirk, if you can't fight for him for some reason, is to simply say nothing. Because I looked at this clip and it bothered me for a lot of reasons, Don, because I know who you are. I know who you are. You're a hunter. You love to hunt, Don, right? Every picture of you, you're in the wilderness. Your whole life, you love to be in the wild. In fact, you taught me a lot about the wild and a lot about hunting. And my favorite fishing experience is actually with you, right? Fighting back the sea lions or the seals in British Columbia. You know nature. And I'm not going to ask you to go against the nature of honoring your father, but I am going to ask you not to lie. And as a hunter, if you are not lying, and this is truly what you believe, you trust the investigation, I'm going to need you to make a video saying that you believe that Charlie was shot by a .30-06 in the neck. And that somehow, through the miracle of God, Charlie's neck stopped a .30-06. Not only stopped a .30-06, but was pretty much in good shape, not even destroyed. His neck was not even destroyed by a .30-06. That kind of a miracle, Don. You know hunting, you know guns, and so I'm asking you if this is truly what you believe, to clarify that matter. Make a video, sit down with me, look me in the eye and say, Candace, I really do think that Charlie, our friend, because you are his friend, you were his brother, stopped a 30-06 with his neck, which stayed intact. You won't say that, Don. You won't say that because it's untrue. And I think that spiritually, it would mess with you. And the hunters that are listening know that you don't believe that. You know too much, okay? So again, I'm going to ask you, if you cannot say anything, I understand the ties that bind. I understand Jared and Ivanka and their investments in Israel and the pressure that's coming from the Zionists, to simply be quiet. As his other brothers and sisters and people in the movement, people who don't even know Charlie, get to the bottom of this, because everything we're being sold is absolute BS. That's my request to you, Don. Anyways, moving on from that, I do, on the topic of Israel, want to let you know that I was very excited to sit down and have a conversation, which we will be releasing on Friday with Norman Finkelstein. Norman Finkelstein was probably the single greatest contributor to me being sort of just smacked in the gut about Gaza, learning about Gaza. I think most people didn't know, genuinely, like me, just did not know anything about the history of Gaza, knew nothing about it, because it has been such a censored topic in America. And we were all told that, you know, it was our job, after all of the Holocaust movies and the Holocaust indoctrination that took place in the school system, to be triggered at the idea that anybody could have a thought against the modern state of Israel, which is only there because 6 million Jews perished in the Holocaust. We all grew up with that, right? We grew up being indoctrinated not to ask a single question when it comes to Israel. That's the reality. And Norm Finkelstein, whose parents survived, one of his parents survived Auschwitz, was the reason I had him on my show right after October 7th, sometime shortly thereafter when I was at the Daily Wire. And what he told me horrified me, and it pushed me to become more educated on the topic. And I was so grateful that I was able to sit down with him again, this time on my totally own show. And I'm just going to show you a little trailer for that. Take a listen.
The Economist magazine, it describes Gaza as, quote, a human rubbish heap. The leading UN official on Gaza describes it as, quote, a toxic dump. For the people of Israel, Gazans are vermin. They're garbage. They're human refuse.
You guys were the ones that insisted that we all have a perspective on October 7th. Then when we looked and we pierced that veil, we went, oh my goodness, how was I ever pro-Israel? And now you want us to shut up.
There's a problem here. A billionaire class of Jewish supremacists are now flagrantly using money as a blackmail weapon to silence not just criticism of Jews, but silence criticism of an ongoing genocide.
Excuse me, what's your secret for sounding professional? How does it help?
So English is
You guys, it is a deeply informative interview. We did, I think, just over 2 hours discussing everything. And if you are someone who you're in limbo on the topic, I was certainly in limbo on the topic a couple of years ago. I no longer am in limbo, and you want to hear it from somebody who both has the credentials, the experience, and also happens to be Jewish, then this is definitely the interview to listen to. Again, we'll be releasing that on Friday. Okay, going to do a couple of sponsors before I get to some of your comments and questions. All right, you guys, the fall is here. The air with shop skincare made right here in the USA. And at checkout, and you'll get 10% off your order. That's NIMI skincare.com. All right, so yesterday in the comments, we had a few people who were asking about the new relic behind me. And I can tell you quickly how I got it. Obviously, it is new. When we were in Wyoming, we traveled with priests. It's something that my husband and I began doing not last year, the year before last year. And it has enriched our experience traveling as a family and kind of checking in with yourself and thinking through things theologically and also feeling a sense of protection to be able to pray. I know that I have received so many emails from people and comments from people who felt compelled. So for some reason that you didn't even know. People said, I haven't gone to church in 45 years. And after I watched Charlie be assassinated, I knew that I needed to go to church. Don't ignore that, okay? You are not like a paper bag floating in the wind, like Katy Perry's song said. You do have a spirit. And what you are pulling, everyone feels that we are in some sort of a spiritual battle now. You're starting to wake up. I feel a lot of people right now are starting to wake up and realize something is wrong. I mean, people are asking, do we live in a matrix? Do we live in a military industrial complex? You recognize something is very wrong. Do not ignore your gut on that, okay? You do not descend from Homo sapien, Australopithecus. That is not the story of man. That's not the story of man. That's not where you are from. Like I said, you have a spirit, and there is more. There is more. Of course, there is more. Of course, there is life after death, okay? And the idea that they want you to believe is, no, this is it. You're here for about 80 years, so you just better be selfish and allow us to enslave you here where we have dominion. I'm talking about these demons that we are fighting, where we have dominion by getting you to compromise your values, compromise who you are, to sell your soul in some circumstances, right? That's not an expression. People, we have observed this, have literally sold their souls. They don't understand that. They won't understand that until they die. They will realize what that actually means. That's not an expression. People, we have observed this, have literally sold their souls. They don't understand that. They won't understand that until they die. They will realize what that actually means. They'll understand that hell is for an eternity, okay? And how we got here, okay, that the story of Saint Michael leading the angels in heaven, the great battle in heaven, knocking Satan and the angels that were behind him down to the earth. That is all very real. And Saint Michael is a prayer of protection that I feel is very powerful. It's a very powerful prayer that we say every Sunday at Mass. And I think that, just the way it starts, Saint Michael, defend us in battle, be our protection against the wickedness and the snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of heavenly hosts, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who prowl about the world seeking the ruins of souls. Amen. It's a powerful prayer. And we're there. We need protection, okay? But I do think that once again, goodness, light is going to win. I feel that, and a lot of you feel that, and I'm loving your emails telling me about your dreams. People in Turning Point had dreams. There was one young woman who emailed me and said, Candace, I just have to tell you, the week leading up to this, I had a very vivid dream about so-and-so at the company and 6 snakes that were around him. And I didn't know that Charlie was going to be assassinated. And this person recounted their dream in detail. And there was many people who dreamed, for whatever reason, the number 6 was in their dreams in terms of the weapon, whatever it was 6 that was appearing. And so I'm kind of going by a vibe that there may be 6 people who betrayed him by the end of this, because there was one too many dreams to that effect from people around the world. Trust your gut. Don't ignore your dreams. Don't ignore your intuition.
Malnutrition should never pass from mother to child. Weak and hungry.
Anyway, some more comments that we have here. Last word. It's a psychological component. Probably, of course, had nothing to do with wanting to support women. Savannah's Government Initiative, sponsored by the children. It is going to have a drastic effect upon humanity. So Charlie did not die in vain. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
All right, guys. So what do you think about this episode? Do you learn something? Did you learn something? Actually, Don Jr. is like the most shocking clip in this entire video. I can't believe how frantic was he. Guys, I'll react to another video, and make sure to leave a comment down below what you think about this video. And sorry for my voice, it's a little bit not good. I have sore throat right now. And guys, please pray for Charlie Kirk's soul. and for the world. Okay, we want the good to win in this battle. I'll see you guys in the next one. Pray the rosary. May Jesus bless you. Happy Sunday. Amen.